Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first Port Broughton Tourism and Events Committee meeting. A special welcome to our community members that have decided to come along and nominate for this committee or accept the invite to be involved. This is a formal meeting. For those that are watching at home, there's an agenda on the website that you can follow. Along with some papers, limited papers, because this is our first inaugural meeting, but it's there on the Barunga West website. So we'll go on to agenda item 2, apologies and leave of absence. I believe I only have one apology, and that's Michael Ortel, who's the Manager of Corporate and Community Services. Unfortunately, he's involved with pressing issues, but he'll be attending the next meeting. Now, before we get into the business of the meeting, members need to declare any interest that they might have. So for our community members, you might have some questions around this. So basically, if you're in a position where you actually might benefit personally or professionally from an agenda item that we're discussing, you need to declare that interest, and you need to declare it up front. And then you should remove yourself from any deliberation or decision making. But I think in this instance, we haven't got any declarations of interest. And what will happen is, if I believe or the staff believe you may have one, we'll raise that with you prior to the meeting. And it will be up to you to actually make that decision on your own grounds. Now, there's no confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, so we'll move on to deputations, which is nil. Before we go on to general business, I thought it might be a really good idea just to go around the table and introduce everyone and describe what your interest is and what you're hoping to see this committee discuss. And anything else that you might want to raise. And I'll start with Jackie to my left.
Oh, throwing me in the deep end. Yeah, I'm more or less here for taking the minutes and supporting any queries that anyone has. Yeah, feel free to come to me with anything that you need or any assistance required or queries.
Hi everyone, I'm Bridget Johns. I'm working with Barunga West Council supporting tourism and economic development projects in the region. And I've just started, I think I'm about 4 days in, so I'm working 1 day a week on Wednesdays. And sorry, I was a few minutes late. I've been out around Port Broughton today, catching up with Kathy Gould, taking photos of all our region to promote the region, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. I'm also working for Legatist around as a community collaborator, so supporting councils from Barossa to Southern Flinders around volunteering and community support as well. So,
and Legatist is Bridget?
That's the peak organisation that supports the local councils in that broad region. So there's 15 councils there, and we're doing some work around youth volunteering, some Brighter Futures projects to support community members to have a broader understanding of the project management and the behind the scenes work of committees as well. So yes, crosses over both roles. And I live at Alfred, so just down the road. And my background, 16 years in state government, working in community and economic development and with education as well.
Shirley Benier, residing at Barunga by the Sea. Bit of a done come lately, I guess, to Port Broughton, although my affiliation, I was born and bred in Port Pirie and had lots of involvement with Port Broughton as a child. And since then we've been residing in Queensland, and the last 2 years David and I have come to live in Port Broughton and thoroughly enjoying it. Our involvement is with the as members of the Historical Society of South Australia, particularly at the Port Broughton Museum as volunteers.
As Shirley said, good morning, I'm David Benier. The name Benier, of course, is synonymous with Port Broughton. It was my great-grandfather's brother that was buried out in the Broughton Cemetery and was one of the pioneering families here in Broughton, and it's so nice to come home, sort of thing, even though my side of the family were more around Ranella. We're thoroughly enjoying Port Broughton and our involvement with the Heritage Centre, which, as you'll understand probably as we get more involved, we understand that we'll have a pivotal role in the 150th Jubilee celebration. It should, because that's where it all is. There's 150 years of potted history in that place. It's a veritable gold mine of information and connection with this region, and we're looking forward to ways of developing opportunities for council to become proactive in that particular area.
Okay, I'm George Blair Nicholas. I'm president of the local RSL, and my involvement is Port Broughton and Fisherman Bay. I live at Fisherman Bay. I've been coming up since 1990, off and on. Love the place. It reminds me of my hometown, Alice Springs, when I was a kid. I'd like to see a lot of things happen to our town. We've got so much history here, like they said. It's our 100th year, RSL 100th year this year. We were at our first meeting was on the 26th of June, 1920. And the monument was dedicated on the 26th of June, 1920. So there's a lot of history here that I've been uncovering at the Heritage Centre, and it's just unbelievable what this town has got to offer. I really do. And Fisherman Bay, we've had 54 years of running our Easter races. Yeah, and that's no mean feat. Yeah, there's a lot of work goes into that, and I'd love to see that keep on going. It's just a brilliant thing for our area. You know, as far as that goes, I spent 35 years in the correctional services, and by trade, I'm a panel beater spray painter, as you know, and arthritis takes up. But I've also been involved with a lot of clubs, our Prison Officers Club, which carry right through all of South Australia. We had over 1,000 members. Our welfare, which looked after family and officers when they were sick or anything like that. Also our legal fund. And both of those were a multi-million-dollar concern. So I've been involved with committees since year dot, because I was involved with Little Athletics in the Territory, with the local, with the Territory, and also with the national one. So I've been around a little bit, and this is my home now, and by geez, I'm going to make the best of it. Thank you.
Okay, Brian Locker, I'm one of the elected members of the council here. I live out at Fisherman's Bay, also the council representative of the Fisherman's Bay Munda Progress Association. Like George, I was previous president of the RSL, treasurer, vice president. I've been involved in a few situations where I've run and controlled and handled events, and actually I was just fortunate. Last week I went to the LGA work forum with Warman's lawyers, which actually relevantly put everything what the council's responsibility was, their terms, conditions, problems that occur through. So it was quite coincidental that it happened, and I got that opportunity to go in to see that. So, but as like George says, we'd like to see the development of this place. Since we got our new CEO, it's been exciting to see the things that are happening. We progressively support her 110% with everything that's happening. And she's some brilliant ideas, brilliant visions, and we'll go along and help her out as much as we can.
I'm Ben. I've been living here for about 6 years. The last 4 years I've been running the Port Broughton Seaside Markets on October long weekend and Easter long weekend. Currently trying to organise the Christmas festival. COVID is awesome at the moment. Besides that, I work 4 days on, 4 days off in the Port Pirie at the Smelters, and that's pretty much me.
I'm Leonie Curley, Mayor of Barunga West Council. I'm looking forward to progressing tourism and economic development, and as Councillor Locklear said, it's exciting. it is absolutely exciting having Mari at the helm now, and the things that we can do and will do, it's just going to be fabulous.
It is.
Laurie.
Looking at you.
I'm Laurie, I'm a Broughton local. I finished and did my schooling here at the area school. I've been with council for almost 9 years now. Started as a trainee, so I've got qualifications in local government administration, and my other qualifications are events coordination, travel and tourism. And I'm also currently the Vice President of the Broughton Mundura Netball Club, so involved in the community that way as well.
Fantastic. And I'm Mari, most people know me. I'll add to what Bridget and Laurie have just said around what council's doing from a tourism, events and economic development point of view. It really hasn't been previously a focus of this council. We are reallocating and identifying resources where we can really focus in this space. This committee is around Port Broughton or Port Broughton areas like Fisherman Bay. It doesn't include Butte. There'll be similar processes starting very soon around Butte. But I think it's one of the areas that we can really achieve some quick wins and build upon and create a really great program of activities for our area and our community. The other news that I will say is we're currently developing a new position in this space to really assist the museum curate, open more often, assist the Visitor Information Centre, assist with events, assist with things that other councils really do, and they do well. Local government have stepped up in that area over the past decade, and they work in partnerships with people like Ben and the Progress Association. So it's going to be an exciting area over the next couple of years, so I'm really looking forward to it. But we'll go into general business now, and 7.1, there's a paper that you've received which tries and quickly identify the events that we know of. And I've written down here Easter races at Fisherman's Bay is not included in there. But I thought we could have a bit of a discussion around what's missing from this table that tries to summarise what's run in the area. And then talk about, the gaps that potentially we have as a community. And hopefully that sort of discussion influences further committee meetings and agenda items. So I was the one that prepared this very short paper, and the papers will get better and the agendas will get better with time. So at the moment, from a council point of view, we promote and support Australia Day celebrations in January. Nominations for that closed this week, 20th of November. So council is now busy trying to get together a bit of a program. I've already had community members ring me and say, can we have extra songs this year? So not only having Advanced Australia Fair, have another few songs that really relate to the community. I think, and our community. I think January is going to be a time where we will need something in our township. And probably that with the COVID restrictions in place, that's probably hopefully the second event that we'll see run over the next couple of months. Didn't have anything for February. Does anyone know of anything in February? March?
Depending when Easter turns up, I guess. Between March and April, we've got the Fisherman Bay races.
Second, 5th.
April the 2nd, is it?
Around that 2nd, 5th
All right.
weekend.
So Seafood on Spencer, which is listed there next to April, is quite an exciting event, and I might ask Laurie to talk about how we support that event. I think it's just via a grant, isn't it?
So we helped them get a grant, but then we also helped them financially as well. And then just a bit on all their promotion, we help them with that. And on the day setting up, they need like fencing and all of that kind of stuff. So we help them a lot with all of the infrastructure, generators and all of that.
Can you explain to the committee what that involves, what the event is?
To the best of my knowledge, okay, I'm not actually on that committee, but pretty much it is some local wives of fishermen have all gotten together and they wanted to organise an event to, I guess, showcase our local produce. So they were able to get involved in contact with some local chefs from Adelaide. I think they had contact, is it Sal Caputo, who was on My Kitchen Rules, was going to come do demonstrations. And then, so you could eat there, they had drinks, they had a band, and it was just a day around the seafood, really.
So that was deferred from this year and is planned now for next year. So that's going to be an amazing event, I think, and I know last year I was applying for this job and I saw it in my research and I bought some tickets.
Well,
it was sold out really
tickets
quickly.
sold out, so it was going to be good.
General concerns that it was sold out very quickly.
Yes.
In fact, there's still inquiries, more new inquiries now.
Yeah.
And Ben, Easter Seaside Markets, that's your baby?
Yes, we have about between 35 and 45 stalls across the foreshore. Pretty much all types of any type of bric-a-brac, entertainment, face painting, food, anything we can really get to come to the area and just help celebrate the town. Both caravan parks are usually packed out around that weekend leading up to Easter. So it was pretty much always been that Easter Saturday we have it because there's just so many people around. I think the town gets up to 4,000 people in that area around that time of year with all shacks and that. So it's pretty much always been, let's have something on the weekend. And it's good to have a seafood festival before it and the Easter races afterwards. And that changes each year with Easter.
Yeah, and a lot of people from Port Pirie and Kanina visit the town as well
I think
to attend those.
Is it the rubber duck race
Rubber
as well that happens at the
race.
same time as the
Sailing Club
markets?
organises
Yeah.
the other side of the area.
I thought it was in October, the rubber duck.
Yeah,
They do it twice.
Oh, do they?
3 times.
Three, because they have
It's
their
one in June.
fishing competition.
June long weekend.
Is that fishing competition? And then they had two rubber duck races.
So Bridget, so fishing competition in June, and rubber duck in October and April.
I'm pretty sure. And one you missed for January was the skate park competition. That was the 16th and 17th of January, run by the YMCA.
Okay.
Annual.
We only had our first one in this January just gone, and we've organised one for January. It's a new thing, yeah.
And council support that, how?
We
again?
pay for it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how much is that?
It's about $8,000 for the 2 days. So that was, organised this year, and we'll have one again in January. They run it all. We don't need to be there, no staff or anything. They just put in their application. They run it on the day, and then we just contact some local food vans or something just to be there to provide food. Yeah.
It's during school holidays, isn't it?
Yeah, weekend
Which
of
is-
school holidays, yeah.
Which is fantastic. Anzac Day. George, what did we do?
We usually we have our dawn service, which is down at the foreshore, of course. And this year was a bit of a. Actually, I was very proud of the people that turned up on Anzac Day because of the COVID thing. But I think we probably had about 40 people spread out. It was just an incredible sight. Even though I spoke to people about it, even though we didn't advertise it, people still come up and were still there in the morning. It was just unbelievable. We'll be doing the same thing like we usually do. We'll have dawn service, which will be held at 6 o'clock. Also at the I've got to speak to the clergy about the service we have in the hall, and then the march. After that, the service down there. After that, it's back to the sub-branch and hopefully have a bite to eat and a few ales, cup of tea, I suppose.
And Georgia, I admitted, I think you do breakfast after the dawn service?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we do, and it's mandatory to have a cup of coffee.
Yeah, very good.
And George, for my benefit, do we contribute to that in any way, local government, or?
We haven't, we've done it all ourselves
Good.
over the years, so.
Yeah.
Apart from the hall, you know, the post gratis for the hall, that's about it, and the foreshore.
And do we close off the street for the march?
Yes.
Excellent.
So, but at a later date, I'll contact it and put a promo down what we're actually going to do on that.
Yes.
Being the 150th Jubilee year, it's an opportunity to do something extraordinary, I think, with
Yes.
that day. But we were there the other day and it was very good. The only problem was you couldn't hear you.
Yes,
And I think amplification, with particularly this community being elderly, have difficulty hearing. I know we do. Sorry? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm talking remembrance. My
Yeah,
apologies.
remembrance, yeah.
I'll go back to sleep, but
no,
I don't
the
know
reason,
whether we have amplification.
yeah, the reason being we don't have electricity.
There's a power upgrade happening,
Yeah, right.
so there was no power.
Yeah.
Even our CD player was on the blanket beside it,
Yeah, right.
and I had it working before we left. It shows you what goes, fair shake. Yeah, so anyway, I'll do that. I'll give you a promo of what we're doing on that day. And now completely change the subject. Fisherman Bay races, now that's an event that we all had. And I don't think we have any council support on that. I think we've done it all on our own back from the Progress Association.
Can you explain that to me? What's the races? What do you do?
We have children racing on the beach.
Okay.
It's been going for 54 years.
Yep.
We have a barbecue, bacon eggs, all that sort of stuff under there, and the kids get prizes and they run raffle. And it's a great day. It is a magnificent day. Kids love it. Sometimes you think, I wish it was a little bit more sort of advertised through our whole area, because it is a great day and it's a good support, not only for the Broughton, for the Fishy Bay too. So,
Well, that's one of the areas I think that this committee and council can achieve is better marketing and advertising of our events. We've got the one page in the Country Times every month. We've got our Facebook, we've got the Top of the York campaign, which has got a lot of followers. So that's,
I can
that's
say,
the other thing.
with the races, council do try to get approval from Crown Land to move the seaweed. So that's a process for it.
that's real.
And really, I guess the reason that council haven't promoted it or anything is technically they haven't ever got council approval to run the event.
Okay, so we can address that. It's a fantastic event. We need to do that. Those events happen all the time. I was going to say Grange run one.
Yeah.
So there should be no reason why we can't do it.
No, I mean,
And
it's,
do it right.
it's really great for the kids. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a lot of kids from Broughton and Mundura come, and kids from Adelaide, parents come up for that weekend, and it's just fantastic. You get kids this high to 16, 17 run, even adults.
Do you do sandcastles with it or just races?
No, just races. Yeah. And lots of ice cream and lollipops and all that sort of stuff.
It's like with every venue though, it's volunteers lack of. You're not doing too bad.
Well, this year it was because of COVID.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it for COVID.
Okay, all right, yes.
Well, can anyone tell us, there used to be horse racing here, I believe, one time, because there were, at the Heritage Centre, there were magnificent trophies for the races. And I wondered where the racetrack used to be.
It's on, I think it's Hornby, no, it's not Hornby Road, the next one over, Old Bay Road,
Okay.
not Old Bay Road, but the track is still there.
Okay.
But it's privately owned, it's on
Oh,
property.
Yeah,
If you're going out Perry Road, where it says Port Broughton Mechanical,
yes.
and
Sit down here.
just down on that road
Thank
there.
you. Yeah.
They've only just recently put the old state, the old structures down.
Yeah.
I guess you'd have to go for races.
Well,
Plenty of those around.
So back onto the table, May to September, does anything happen?
Murray,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
August, Vietnam Vets Day,
And what happens then?
18th of August.
And
We have a
what's the,
service down at the memorial and then back to the RSL for lunch. So,
excellent.
yeah,
And Leonie, Mayor Curley.
Oh, sorry, I'm just writing George's.
We will,
Yeah.
Bridget is going to come up with a beautiful table around this, not only for our, for this Port Broughton event, but for our whole district.
Yeah.
So that's one of the outcomes that council's looking to achieve very soon.
did you want ideas also for the 150th?
Not yet. Let's just see if we can populate this table and get a really good handle on what we've got.
What I'm wondering is, do you want sporting events like the golf club? I think they usually have a really big
Tournament?
day, yeah. But I don't know, we'd have, don't know, bowling club sometimes have a really big event.
Like an open for everyone?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we need to contact the sporting clubs and just find out what they might do
Yes.
and add that in.
Yes, definitely.
And we have at times supported the clubs with, don't quote me on that, I'm not positive.
Not that I'm aware of.
We'll have a look, what we've done in the past, but it doesn't mean what we've done in the past or what we haven't done doesn't stop us doing it in the future.
So we're looking for this list to be the bigger events that anyone could come into.
Yes, like tourism and not just community, not just members of that sporting club. They need to be open.
okay, well, I've got-
RSL's open, I guess.
yes.
Yeah.
I've got contacts with the Vets group.
Yeah.
They do a lot of golfing around the Riverland.
Right.
Now I can sort of get onto them and see if they can get their shoddy bodies down here, because they do throw quite a bit of money into the community.
Yeah, they do, yes.
So, if you like, I'll contact them and see if it's possible to get them down here.
That'd be fantastic, George.
So then we can work out a date and all that sort of stuff. So, all right.
Anything from May to September?
Thinking the opportunity, do they still have what used to be lightning carnivals in football and netball?
Yeah, but they're closed. They're not open to
Yeah.
anyone.
They're run by the sporting
Sporting
groups.
clubs.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm just thinking next year being what the year it is, to do extraordinary things out of the norm.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get the community excited, why not? You know, I don't know whether they still have football and netball, lightning carnival, you know, all the groups.
Yeah.
No,
No, that's gone by the wayside, unfortunately.
No, the football club will have a junior carnival that you have teams from down YP Way
Okay,
and all of that.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's run by the football club because they make money, I think, from
But still,
that day.
but still something
It's-
we probably can promote and.
Oh, absolutely, I can
Yeah,
promote it, yeah, I don't know how we
Because it was
would get involved, but we
No.
can promote it,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it was a huge day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was well attended. The football over here was absolutely packed. So, and you see people walking down the street, you know, the kids don't want to be there all day, so they've gone down the street and probably gone to the shop and
Yeah,
supported
bought something.
business. So
that's great.
I guess the word I should have in brackets is commemorative. Again, next year I keep arguing on it, but all of the ordinary things become extraordinary in a special year, and that is why, you know, like the bowl, someone mentioned bowls. You know, you could have one of the biggest open days going for all of the bowlers in the region during that year. Very popular sport here, and you know, that was just a couple of, I've got a number of ideas that.
Yeah, we'll go back to that later. That's the third agenda item. Any other events between May and September that anyone can think of? Ben, do you do anything? No.
Rest.
Res,
Only the Sailing Club have their fishing competition and exposition in the hall. June, that's around June.
and so they have an
is that the same weekend as the comp?
Yes, it's like a 3-day thing, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go check the event forms.
Have they put in events for this next year? They have already?
They book the hall in advance, and
Okay.
then a few weeks or months prior, they'll do all the other forms needed.
It was an art exhibition.
October Seaside Markets in there, November Remembrance Day, sorry.
October's also History Month. We do a few things in the area during History Month. And I think they've got a South Australian guide that covers all of South Australia, what they do each week in different towns and areas.
Okay,
We've got a few things in there. Encouraging. I think the History Centre opens twice or 3 times a week that month as well.
I was even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supported by state records.
And so, yeah, I'm not sure,
all right. So that's in October,
Yeah, the whole month, yeah.
History Month, fantastic, we need to work out what, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have thought we could do more, yes, councillor, look here.
Murray, just on in October, is any more being development of the Mundura's request about having the tractor pull fake out there?
I haven't put in a application yet, but we've sent off licence requirements and application forms, etc. So obviously this year COVID can't do it. So
I think
yes.
they weren't considering this year, they was going to wait for next October long weekend.
so
Again, that was a clash, depends on what clash was, anything else was happening at the same time.
so Mundura, it was like a fate type of thing, like a fun day with
Run by who? Who's
Progress Association.
Association. Yeah, it was a tractor pull and utilised the same day as having a fete with stalls and all. But they've got a very big following with the tractor pull, and the people that are trying to run it are members. And Bullaroo have a big one, there's all around the state. So if that become very, people was interested in it, and then in turnout it was considered to do an annual one.
Good.
Okay,
I'm sorry, she's got a big one.
We're including beauty in this one.
yes, no, well, but you can raise it if you want, like the Mundura, we'll note it down.
I was going to say October long weekend, I reckon they've got a beauty day in view.
Yeah.
They also have the cyclists come through, which we could do.
Which is
more
closed,
yeah.
At it, yeah.
That was
They go through Ticker as well, don't they?
I
Yeah,
believe they do,
yeah.
yeah. But,
And Alfred.
yeah.
It's run by Copper Coast Council. Okay, now, staff have got a recommendation here for the committee to note the recurring annual community and/or public events held within the Port Brighton area. I guess we have noted that and we've amended it and we've discussed it a little bit. Can I have somebody to move, Councillor Mayor Curley?
I'll move the recommendation.
You'll move the recommendation. So, and you'll second it. All in favour? George. And for those that are new, if you support it, all you do is put up your hands if you, all in favour. So I'm assuming that everyone's all in favour. Sorry, it's a little bit formal, but
That's all right.
it's the way we do things in local government, isn't it, Mayor Curley?
It is.
So I'm going to use some influence here, and I might skip now to agenda item 7.3, I think it is, to talk about the 150-year celebration. We talked about on the agenda being a presentation, but we thought instead of a presentation, we might go into informal discussion. Is that how you do it, Mayor Curley? Do we have to do that in the section 41? I don't think we do.
I don't think you do.
Okay,
We're
great.
fairly informal.
We're perfect, yes. So I just thought, in light of the events that we've currently got on the agenda, we can talk about openly about some of your ideas around the 150-year presentation, and what we will do as a council is we'll go back and collate those ideas into a report and come up with some recommendations for this committee to consider. And I guess people have had a chance to think about the 150-year celebration of the township's anniversary next year. And I'm just keen to hear everyone's thoughts around that, in particular the community members around the room. Now, David, I'm going to start with you. Because you've
Taken
been
the liberty
keen.
of putting some notes together. but
Okay,
I'll pass
excellent.
those around.
Yep.
Just, again, it's just thinking out loud. But,
Thank you very much.
that's right. Oh, isn't it amazing? Just when you want to.
Yeah,
come with
I'll
it.
just pass them around if you like that.
Okay, mate. Yeah, thank you. I hope there's enough.
Well, if not, we'll have one behind us.
We're right.
All right?
Okay, do you want to talk us through it, David?
Thank you, if I might. I just wanted to- Oh, there's me. I did have one. Amazing. Obviously, if there's any interest, of course, it's from the Heritage Centre's point of view that the opportunity during the year to be more proactive in the town and be open more and market it more heavily and have a walk through history tours. It's rather interesting how few we hear how few of the community have actually been through the Heritage Centre.
Yeah, definitely worth a look.
It certainly is, and the long weekends and the special event days when people come from external areas it evidences just how frustrating it is for visitors when the place is shut. And so certainly during key events and key times during the next year, that centre needs to be open. So the idea is to walk through history or walk through the past tours of the Heritage Centre. The tall ships played an important part in the history of this place, and it would be remarkable, I think, if we could bring in one of the tall ships as part of a celebration, either at Easter or a long weekend in October, or maybe to fill a gap at a particular time. It could be in keeping with other areas, but it offers scope for sponsorship for council with the wheat people like Batara and others, elders, the stock firms, because it's part and parcel of the history, the wheat industry and the wheat and wool and the like, and it could be something that could be encouraged. Tall ship street parties, I think, could be an excellent opportunity for streets to celebrate during the course of the year. I believe the last school reunion was very successful. I think a special Jubilee reunion for all of the schools in the area that focused around the area school could be worthwhile in bringing people. That could coincide with Easter or November or another gap in the procedures. I mentioned bowls before. I think there's an opportunity for a bowls carnival. Lightning Carnival, football, netball and cricket. Music Fest, Ben mentioned the Esplanade and the like. It could be something extraordinary done with, a big music festival based around food. Has there ever been a crab festival of the crab? Crabs are synonymous with this area. It's something different, something new, and just a thought, something, Heritage Walkway, that might be a bit controversial, Murray, but I think we often sit down on the Esplanade and I cringe when I see the walkway without a fence and I see nobody on it. Having been in Cairns with the walkway along the mud flats, I mean, mud flats are pretty disinteresting, but the walkway and what they've done with tourist promotion material, talking about things like mud skippers and sharks and alligators or whatever. That whole area, it could be a major Jubilee project for council and the community to actually turn it into a heritage walkway, really promoting the town. Sorry?
An eco walk.
Yeah. And I had other ideas of actually recognising families. There are a number of families who are pioneer families, and it may be as part of that, it may be possible to get a grant through the regional councils or that council funding area for special projects. It could be a good employment project, you know, given that employment is an issue at the moment. You know, like the old Red Scheme. Imagine just to turn that whole esplanade into a tourist attraction in itself. I don't believe it would be too expensive. I believe there'd be sponsors interested in that area, and it could be a joint venture with the whole community to turn that walkway or that area, which is excellent, but it can turn it into something extraordinary. And quickly moving on, Grey Nomad Muster. We all notice how many are coming through the town. Let's make a special time for the Grey Nomads to come to town. Crabfest, I mentioned, a major sailing event. There used to be, I believe, a regatta here one time.
Yeah, annually, the yacht club comes over because they hire the RSL hall.
Yeah. In another time, I put forward a proposal for a classic. This was in Adelaide when I was working with an organisation involving all yachts of all sizes, even down to the kite surfers. This backwater I thought would be excellent for kite surfers and the like, and I've not seen anyone out there. But something special, you know, attracting the yachties, a major sailing event across the Gulf for the big boats, the little yachts and the windsurfers and the like. It could be a really multifaceted sailing time. Again, maybe focused around the tall ships. It's just a thought. And the food festival we mentioned with Ben, I think that's a great idea, a carnival. Now, you will be aware of the pie cart. I think the pie cart's languishing down in Goolwa or it was here, and it's everyone that comes through the Heritage Centre is a little bit gobsmacked about the pie cart and its history. Why not try and get it back for a year?
Isn't it one still on the parade?
Sorry?
No.
No, they moved it, didn't they?
Yeah, he went back every to Goolwa or somewhere down that way.
But the Adelaide City Council is recently talking about getting it back into where it was down in town there, because it used to be opposite the post office at there on stage, and then they moved to the railway, and then they moved it out to...
It's always at the railways, my dad wanted and all we want.
David, can I just clarify, all these activities that you're saying, is this for the 150-year event, or are you saying you want these events over the year?
Just thinking over the year.
Okay, because I think to celebrate the 150th year would have just one event for that over either a day or a weekend. Yeah.
You could.
Called the 150th, and these would just be events throughout the year, not because of the 150. Is that what?
Well, it was under the banner of 150th year celebrations. I mean, multiple things. We want to put Broughton on the map. There's an opportunity to do so under the umbrella of 150th Jubilee.
I think we can run events throughout the year, but I think some of these are sort of one-off 150-year events, and then the others could be annual events that we need to investigate, which are fantastic.
Anyway,
so we've got
a for information. And,
that's fantastic. Shirley,
just while we're on the subject of 150 year, my thoughts run both from the museum aspect and also through the RSL perhaps, because at the museum we do have lots of lovely costumes. I believe it's been done before, but my memory goes back to Remembrance Day this year, and that the compere, or the Master of Ceremonies, was asking for people to come up and lay a wreath. And when you came to nurses, and this is where my background comes into it, and I felt very uncomfortable about that, in that there was nobody, no wreath. And going back to the 150-year bit and the museum, we do have lots of lovely costumes, which I know have been utilised in Port Broughton before. And we do need people to not only wear them, but fit into them. My thoughts were in conjunction with the RSL, and particularly in that year, on those days, Anzac Day, Remembrance Day, or days. That's what I've just.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Good opportunities there. Yeah.
I think what Shirley is saying, and I totally agree with it, I think on this program, especially the 150 day that you're going to have, why not make it a period costume area so people can go out and wear period stuff. Maybe we can get a few horse and carts in, something like that. So it brings that 150 year feel back into the community.
Yeah.
You know?
Very good.
Ben, have you got anything to add to that wonderful list? David?
Yeah, I was just going to add also the rail cart that starts at the end of the jetty all the way to Mundura.
That's all.
Yeah,
Something along that.
That was a bike hub.
Yeah. Something that the Progress Association's done in the past, we've also got a website that has the History Centre included with a lot of pictures, as well as the history of Port Broughton.
Yeah.
If anyone want to have a look at portbroughton.org.au, so
Yeah.
there's plenty of information with walks on there as well.
Yes.
We've been looking at that site and extracting info out of it because we've come up with the Top of the York site. So we want to put that sort of stuff on that website. We've got the Top of the York domain.
Yep.
Everyone knows about the Top of the York. It's a bit of a brand that we've been using to talk about the Barunga West district,
Right.
and Port Broughton and Fisherman Bay obviously fit within that
Yes.
because we are the Top of the York. We think it's a nice little stamp. George, do you want to add anything to this?
No, I think they've pretty well covered everything. In respect to the year, it's going to happen for 12 months. The other thing we are doing at the RSL, which is celebrating our 100th year, is we're looking at memorial bricks where we can put people's name, people can buy and put their name of their grandfather, their great-grandfather that has served, or even people that are local. Now what we want to do, we want to make it around where the gun emplacement is. We'd like to put all that around that area. And maybe even, and I think we spoke to Mari about it, about putting it on the footpaths. So people walk along and say, oh, that's my grandfather, or that's my grandmother. So there, in a sense, is a great local thing. You know, sort of, we've had a lot of dialogue with people that do those bricks, and also commemorative chairs and seats. You wouldn't want to put them down the front, but we're thinking about putting some around the RSL, like Rising Sun, that sort of stuff. So that's where we're looking at next year. That's if I get in again. But that's what we're looking at for our town, is putting these bricks there. So people got a memory. It's actually there, so people can see it, not only on the monument, but it's there. So that's another project we've got irons in the fire for.
There's also a Butte as well.
Yeah, we're looking at Butte, and we want to sort of give our area something that people can come and have a look at, you know, and memorise. You know, so apart from that, I don't think I've got anything else except the 150 year. I reckon period costumes, if you can get it. You know, horse and carts, if we can get, you know, some older vehicles or whatever, make a great parade of it, I think.
Councillor Lockyer, do you want to add anything?
The only one there, they walk through the history too. Also, we should consider the school trail as well. I don't know if anybody's been down there. They've done a beautiful job down there. And actually, it's not really very well publicised, because the work the kids have put into that is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's the one thing there. But my question being is, okay, we selected these things to go all through a year, but if we selected a date and a time for to do the actual 150 year celebration, are we going to do it one day, we're going to do it 2 day, and we've always just discussed theme wise, such as, you know, period costumes and maybe folk band or something like that.
What we'd like to do is, if it's okay with the committee, is staff will go away and we'll have a think about some of this and put more flesh around your ideas and come back to the committee with some recommendations, or some options and some recommendations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we can sort of right now list a date. Wanted to have this really informal chat about it so we can go away and come up with a proposal for this community to think about.
Sorry to interrupt on that point, just to may help in the thinking, is Heavenly Captain Dale, the date was of settlement here was either June, July in that period of 1871.
Beautiful.
So it was virtually mid-year.
I think we've got it somewhere, haven't we, Mayor Kelly? I think it was emailed to us, so we,
Well,
so we'll go around and put some flesh around this and, you know, make some inquiries around how much this is going to cost and what's involved and all of that sort of stuff. So we'll keep it really, you know, feasible. Mayor Kelly, I'm just mindful that you haven't had contributed. Is there anything to this list?
Well, yes. I've been listening and I like the suggestions, and as Laurie said, do we decide on one big thing, or do we have 2 or 3 things, or do we take it all over the year? I would like to see something modern. We're celebrating 150 years. Do that, but let's have something really modern as well. And I don't have a suggestion as to what that is, but we need to make it poppy and vibrant for the younger people. Otherwise, they're going to go, oh, hum, I don't want to see period costume probably. I don't know. The young ones might be quite fascinated. But, you know, we have to think about engaging the younger children, the school kids, teenagers, and the 20-somethings. So just a thought that maybe we need to come up with something that's a bit out there. Somebody mentioned old cars. George, did you mention?
Yeah.
I actually like the cavalcade of cars idea. That might be a bit old-fashioned too, but I think I like that idea. So
There's a few of us that can round up a few of them. I'm looking at you too.
and because we were having an art competition which didn't happen, maybe we can do some sort of competition that we photograph the old buildings in the district and show them off as a feature. Other than that, I don't have much else to add. Thank you.
Through me to Mayor Kelly, in response to the costumes and children, maybe we could think about rehashing the costumes a little, not to destroy them or do anything major to them, but get the kids to wear them, particularly some senior students. We could try, and even some juniors who get a lot of fun out of it.
And I might be totally wrong, but I'm just thinking, I don't know. I don't know how it will go, and we won't know unless we try.
We'll go away and sort of think about some of these ideas and put some flesh around them. I'm just looking at you two. Yes, George?
Just the other thing, we were talking about these sort of things, our entrance to our town, right? We spoke about that monument out there. How many people have seen that monument near the school?
No.
The row of what's the name? Trees of Memory.
Oh, that's in that median strip.
Yeah. That's sort of been left and died a natural death. I think it was about 5 years ago, we went out and planted new trees there, the RSL. And I gave Mari all the information on it.
Yep.
So it was done by, all around the place, was done by school kids and people from here. So
over to you, Mayor Kelly, before I step in.
I think we talked about that monument recently and how we would revamp that.
Yeah.
Let me take the opportunity to give you a few updates of some things that are happening in council land at the moment, and we're running as fast as we can. I'll first of all talk about the walk, the foreshore walk.
Yeah.
So we've got Hames Charlie, KBR, in a walking trail strategy, working together to actually come up with a foreshore walk from Port Broughton Tourist Park through to Fisherman Bay. That is a tourist walk, a shared bike and pedestrian walk, but also with some coastal protection measures.
Yeah.
So that there's a workshop planned this next month in December to bring all that information together. There was a master plan done in 2016. So in addition to that, at the wall where people were scared to, the seawall where people are scared to walk, City Collective are actually currently designing some balustrade with podiums for and some art in that balustrade with a foreshore ramp for council's consideration in the new year, because there's a planning and development fund grant, so the open space grant, and I forget the particular terms, that we think that that nice bit of infrastructure would be able to get 50% funding from state government. So we're running as fast as we can to do that. That's something we can obviously put past this committee. And I like the ideas of, you know, incorporating some of the heritage aspects of Port Broughton within some of those podiums.
Yeah.
But we've also got areas, like we've got a very creative architect looking at areas for sunsets and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a whole heap of stuff happening in that space. In relation to the history, we're looking at a brochure type thing to try to promote the history and where you can go and see the monuments and of the townships from a whole of Boronga West. We've just come up with an RV park one and caravan park one.
Yes.
We've got another one planned and I can't remember what that is.
Fishing.
The fishing one. And then we've got, you know, the history, because we think our district, in particular, you know, there's the Heritage Centre here, but there's the heritage things that you can go and have a look at at Pewt. So we're doing that as well. And we'll bring that back to this committee. The other thing that I would like to do, subject to your approval, is bring back to this committee fairly soon, like next month, a bit of a commemorative logo that we can stamp on everything next year. So we can actually promote the 150 year and come up with a bit of a promotional pad around that. We should be in a position to present that next month. So what council would like to do is take some of your ideas, come back to you next month with a bit of an operational report on what we're looking at and then investigating, and some options around decisions that we can, or recommendations we can make to council about, you know, what the big event's going to be. I love the idea of the tall ships. We need to go away and work out whether we can get one, and when we can get one and all of that sort of stuff. So there's a bit of work for us to do here, but we'd like to take these ideas that you've all discussed and bring them back next month, and then we can present them to council for their consideration. Yes, Councillor Lockyer.
Yeah, another thing I was thinking about, you know, what a great idea to, we can make some extra money out of it through paraphernalia, you know, stickers for the cars and the cups and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Those sort of things, you know, people love souvenirs of events and that, so we can even look at something like that.
We could, that's a really good idea. Like they did, I think they did, I love a Port Pirie sticker. You would know as a Port Pirie, Ben. Can you remember that? That's sort of ingrained in my mind. It was about 20 years ago. It worked really well. But we could do that for our community for sure. So, and the other events that we're looking at the moment as well, which is not around the 150 years, but we could replicate them, is we're doing a Christmas light competition. We could do a light competition around the 150 years or whatever, or some sort of competition around recognising 150 years to get the community involved. And we're also doing a colouring competition. What's going to be our COVID, what was it? Council's COVID colouring competition. We had it all worked out, we had it done. We had, and we were going to launch it during the 6 days of lockdown, but then they decided to make 6 days 3 days. So we're now rebadging it as a school holiday colouring competition. But those are the sorts of things that we can do as a bit of a celebration activities around 150 years, but it costs a lot of money, but gets the community involved.
Raises awareness of it as well.
It raises awareness, yeah. So we've got a bit of work to do, but I'd like to thank you for that discussion. and encourage you, if you've got any other ideas outside of this forum, just give me a call or Laurie a call or Bridget a call. Can't get a hold of me, or your councillor and mayor a call. Have a bit of a chat.
I just sort of what David was saying about the walkway, and you were saying the walk from here right through to Fishman Bay.
Excellent.
Is there any chance of sort of looking into putting a boardwalk through all the mangroves at Fishman Bay?
That's part of it.
That would be absolutely phenomenal.
Really.
There's a boardwalk
Yeah.
suggestion at this end as
Yeah.
well, at Port Broughton end.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's part of it. So Hayne Charlie came up with the concept. We just haven't got a cost associated with it. So that's the next bit of work that we've engaged them to do as part of the. We got a $20,000 grant for from Building Better Regions to do a walking trail strategy, and that's part of the work that we've engaged Hayne, Charlie, and riders who are cost estimates to tell us how much this amazing sort of idea is going to cost. So we'll have that, and we can bring that information past this committee.
Because the amount of bird life there, different bird life,
Oh,
there's a lot of birds come in during the types of year, time of the year. Also, the life in the mangroves itself is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't think people, I've treaded through there up my knees in mud sometimes, but it's just incredible what you can see in there.
Yeah, I'd love to see fishing spots and canoe places where you can actually launch a canoe and all of that sort of stuff. It's going to,
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of expressing some views. The Mayor made a point about doing something modern. I think I'm excited about that walkway idea. Having been in Cairns for a decade and just experienced the esplanade and the people walking and the interpretive side of things, and that's exactly what you mentioned about the fish and the birds. What you could do is amazing, and I mean what you can put in place the future for tourists coming in and using next year as the reason. There would be grants, I'm sure there'd be sponsors that could really.
I don't want to create the expectation we're going to build it next year, but we are looking at those sorts of infrastructure for.
The vision could be there.
Yeah, the vision is there. It was done in 2016. It was a great vision. I have to give it to the councillors at that time. We just need to now deliver it. We need to refine it so it works for what we want and deliver it. But I hope we can get some sort of balustrade and podium in the foreshore ramp soon, very soon, because that's been a priority of council to get that done. It's been raised by council for a while, and in particular the mayor, about the balustrade and the dangerous element of that sheer wall and the drop-off. So that might happen next year, but I doubt whether the boardwalk will happen next year, will be built. When I say happen, will be physically built. It's probably the year after, to be really honest.
Murray, can I just ask David?
Yes.
Do you know if we've had a tall ship come in here? I haven't.
Yes, you did. There are photos in the Heritage Centre.
How long ago?
Way back over the centuries. I think the One and All.
Yeah.
It was either the One and All or Faley came here. There is a
Faley
was a Faley, wasn't it?
Yeah. So how far? Do you know how far it came in? Because our channel may not accommodate a tall ship, and if it can't come.
Well, the Faley used to come in
right
as a catch.
But over the years, though, our channel
I'm with you.
may not be deep enough to bring it too far in.
Yeah.
It'd be good if it could more.
Yeah.
So we could see it, but it would be really good if we could actually get on it.
That's the things that we'll have to work out whether we can do or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be good.
Whether it's feasible, but I think it's a great idea.
I think it'd be quite exciting. But just quickly on that point about the balustrading, I'm sure you've considered it, but visitors that I've spoken with and said that they're impressed with what you've done down the southern end with the rope and the sleeper type fencing. That may not be feasible, but that is very nautical and in keeping with the environment, using that. I don't know whether that or something like that.
We're going to leave it up to the architects because they've got the creativity and they'll come up with a few options, obviously, but I think they'll come up with something a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't think down there rope will probably be a material that we can use, unfortunately, but it might be something that looks like rope.
Yeah, visually.
Yeah, visualising it. So, but we'll leave it up to the creative sort to do that. But I might then end discussion around 7.3 if I can. We've got a lot to think about as a council, staff, administration, and a lot of work to do, so we can come back and bring some of those ideas back with a bit more detailed around them and how it can actually happen and when and how much. But I will go on to 7.2 now, which is Christmas. Ben. Now, Ben, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Sure.
Progress Association, you told me it's likely not going to continue.
Progress Association's got a few members that are looking at resigning, retiring by the end of this year. Progress Association runs or looks after visitor information, the seaside markets, Christmas festival, and I think there was streetscape and a few other things. But at the moment, it's looking at, at the moment, I do 80% of the work of those, running those events. So it's pretty much, if the association is not wanting to continue, it would be more like if something like the Section 41 committee would, or the council would take over those 3 events, all depending on what everyone's thoughts are on both associations.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got an opportunity to test that out with Christmas this year in Port Broughton at the moment, and Fisherman Bay. At the moment, it's not looking good, is it? Like, if we continue with these restrictions, the street party that is planned when?
The 5th of December.
It's not going to happen, I don't think.
So the COVID plan at the moment is saying that it can go ahead on the 5th,
Okay.
but in saying that, there's a power outage
Power
in
outage,
Broughton that day. Oh no,
And-
planned for that day.
Yeah.
So I
What
think
time would that?
all day.
8 till 3.
I think that's a
Yeah,
sign,
9
Ben.
till 3.
No, it's not. A town generator that we've used every year.
But I don't know if that will do everything. That's the only problem.
I've got a lot of things in place already.
Yeah. The message only came a couple of days ago.
That was only till 3 p.m. wasn't it?
8 till 3.
8 till 3.
8 till 3. So our event doesn't start till 4. 4 till 9.
Yeah, you just never know.
But you
Probably
don't know,
have those
like I said last time,
say
it's not,
intermittent
they'll be out until 3
attendance
a.m.
hours, so it might not be a
Okay,
full
too.
No, it says interrupted to your property in Port Broughton between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m.
interrupted,
right.
so only
Yeah.
interrupted.
Yeah.
So the only, at the moment, I've got outdoor lighting that I've hired for outside, like festoon lighting that goes up and down the whole street. We haven't had that in the last few years, and a lot of that was designed to be hooked up to the generator with a lot of the other stall holders. The only one would be the hall that would need power for, and that's can also be hooked up to a generator. They're only good lights. Don't shut it down.
No, I'm not going to shut it down. I just said, like a week ago, we would have had to shut it down.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to find over the next few days, so we might just have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I want to see it happen
Yeah.
for sure. Like, you've done all
I
this
think
now.
that the new COVID safe plan has made it go from 900 people allowed to only 500 people.
500, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the
Okay.
moment,
Again, that's,
that could change December 2nd, not sure.
yeah.
With what the restrictions will be. Talking this morning, or listening this morning,
Yeah.
there's a chance that it'll go back to 1.2. At the moment, we've got COVID attendance sheets at the council, the visitor information in the school. I think the school's got 100 people so far, 20 at the visitor information, not sure on the council, on how many people.
50,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and that's just the street area. That one, I think there's down to 30 and 80 in the hall as well. I had a chat with the school this morning. They're still and ahhing about whether or not having carols as well, whether or not the school will be involved. All depends on what happens in the next
Week.
week, pretty much.
So we'll work closely with you, Ben, and keep an eye on that. In the interim, I asked Bridget to look at ways in which we could potentially light up Foreshore and May streets, and I'll pass over to Bridget now to talk about what she investigated, because what's in this report is not only what she talked about or had a look at, but I'll pass over to you, Bridget.
Yeah, so from talking with Mari, we were looking at different ways to brighten up the area, particularly if we can't physically do much now during COVID. So we looked at some different options. That you should have it in the agenda there. So can you just bring up the picture?
Do you want to talk about the illumination first?
Yeah,
Option
okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at different ways of getting people together in a COVID-safe way. So we thought of potentially projecting things onto the sea, so having a light display there. There may be some issues there with boating, having lights out on the water. So then we flipped around and thought a lot of the silos are doing silo projections onto them. So we considered if there are any blank spaces we have around Port Broughton that we could project onto. Again, we struggled to find a blank space, so then we thought about the pub. So if you think of the foreshore, we've got that space in front of the pub and then the pub's facade. So we considered that and then talked to a company called Illuminate in Adelaide. They have done all the silo art around South Australia and actually around Australia. So their consideration was to have some sheets on the front of the pub to have a projection space onto. Unfortunately, when we costed that out, it would be around $7,500 for an single evening event. So that, yeah,
We ruled that out pretty quickly.
It was a cost-effective use of money there. So then we considered other ways of lighting up the town. And we thought of having some solar lights linked to the street lights and then have some projection on there. So if you look at the map there, there's already the street lights that have some Christmas decorations on them there that you put up in Christmas time. But we were thinking of having 10 light poles to have some type of art display on there. So further down the application, we've got some non-light up versions, so they're obviously a little bit cheaper, and the next one down is some stars there that are solar powered that look like that during the day but are lit up at night, and then there's some Christmas tree versions as well. And then we also have the palms down the middle of the street, so we were considering maybe having some fairy lights or something up the palm trees, and potentially the first couple of pine trees out on the foreshore, having something to light them up there. So they were the options we looked into. Obviously, they're all quite costly, and the non-light up versions are the cheapest option, but the middle option we had of the 2 stars that light up, we felt that those ones may be a good option because you could actually use them when it's not Christmas time. You could almost consider stars to be a bit Hollywood or lighting up an area, so you could potentially use them at another time during the year for events at Port Broughton. So they were the options we found. The holographic ones, the ones that don't light up, are available for shipping straight away, and the ones that light up are available for shipping in early December. So they've been delayed by the ports, but we could get them in the first week of December. They wouldn't be up in time for the parade, the current celebration on the 5th though.
Have they got a good lifespan?
Yes, so these are, I think they've got a warranty on them. I'll double check that, but yeah, I can't remember the
So
exact
this is
number.
something that we'd use over and over again for the next 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's something that we could build upon, but they're permanent. So they're, and they're, you put them away after each year, where the Christmas decorations that you've currently got, I understand they're tinsel, they're quite, sorry?
We've got 12.
Got 12 of them, and how old are they, Ben?
They'd be at least 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, so we just thought, look, and I wanted to put something to you. It's something, if we don't do this year, we might want to think about doing the following year, but I think there's a real opportunity for us to light up our main street and our foreshore really nicely, like other areas do. I've got there, in partnership with the Progress Association, because I do know Progress Association's got a little bit of money in the kitty. Have you?
Those ones we do have, we actually bought them off the Player Council, so I don't know how many they've had it for as well, so
Wow.
they'll be 15 years old. But last year we did buy 2 100-metre lots of solar lights that the council put up between all the trees as well.
Yeah.
And there's a store Adelaide that you can get from as well. So.
Yeah. Councillor?
Really, so this, every year I go over to Meta and they got a little train. You can jump on that for free and they drive around to all the house lights.
We had one.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And that many people get over there. They don't get on the thing, they follow around with their cars, but it's a big attraction. People sort of, and I think they compete against each other to make sure they're going to get on that listing. But those little trains, everybody hops on, it's free, and they just drive around and.
It's not free, they charge. Yeah, there's a ticket, and because we do it every year, of course. And I did talk to George about it, and he's saying that we had a car.
We had a car. It's now at where the train heritage is. It's parked up on Stilts.
So they use, it's parked up on Stilts.
It's there.
Not used at all.
Do they use it at all now?
No, it's just there as a decoration.
Is that the Orion's train?
Yeah.
I think they got rid of it because it was dangerous. It was not, wouldn't have passed the muster, I don't think. I think that was the reason.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to be able to do something like that this year, but we should be thinking about that
There is
the
a
following year.
Danny Rhodes in the community. He goes around and draws up a big map and puts it all online about all the local trees, Christmas lights as well.
Fantastic. But yeah, the train's very successful, and they charge, it's the Heritage Trust, I think they run it, the National Trust Minter branch, and they charge a fee.
Yeah,
And you got to
under
book.
$10 I feel like, but it's all normally sold out.
Yeah, sold out straight away.
And I feel like the front pub hotel also has their bus they take around each year with a few kids while parents are eating. They take kids around to look around as well.
Okay.
I think they've done that last week. No, they haven't.
That's just a family thing that we do.
Okay.
That's just a family.
The look on Laurie's face.
They're too busy to do that.
George?
You talk about the lighting, and have you thought about going to all the business people and get them to dress their shops up with lights and stuff like that? Because it does make a heck of a difference to an area when the shops do it themselves. I mean, you can buy those holograph ones now, the little ones that spit out all sorts of designs and stuff like that, and they're not that expensive.
So we're doing a Christmas light competition. We're going to launch it, I think, next week.
Yeah.
We could put in there that we could do a retail price
Yeah.
for Christmas decorations in their front windows for retailers and organisations. See what we get. We used to do that in the Adelaide Arcade. We compete hard for this prize amongst all the offices and the retail shops. And we get very, very creative, with our retail windows. And people used to come in there, George, it became a Christmas attraction. People used to come to Adelaide and Gaze Arcade to have a look around at all the different Christmas decorations. So I think that's a great idea, and we can do that quickly.
It'd be great because you come into town and basically it's dead apart from the lights. But if it's something there that's really bright and there, even, as you come in with the trees and stuff like that, give it, it is Christmas. Let's go have a bit of a look. So it might be worth the shot.
Well, we used to have the Angies, she used to walk around dressed up Santa. Christmas Day, and walk around the bell and walk around the streets and that.
So we've got a recommendation. I'm just mindful of time. We've got a recommendation there. The recommendation was based on the assumption that Progress Association might want to partner with us and invest some money. But if you're saying that's been expended.
I've still got a few.
Yeah, okay. And we haven't given you the Progress Association for this financial year either. So there's that. But I'm just wondering, do you think it's worth us making a start and starting brightening up our street near Curly?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely. But just on page 6, and we've got the little map of where we might light up. Is it the poles, the power poles? The poles, that's the power poles. Last year, when council put up the big red and green bunting across the streets, I had a comment from a business person in that end of Bay Street, who didn't have one of the big green and red things in front of their property, and why didn't we get one when they were all down the other end? Now I'm looking at this and we're lighting up one end of Bay Street, but we're not lighting up the other end. And I think to be fair and a bit specky, we need to share it along the whole street.
I think it's because there's nowhere to put them.
I think
there
they're down
is somewhere, is
So
there?
have a look, yeah.
Then I right at the start there isn't too much room.
Okay, but
I
I still,
have to check something,
even-
there is a
yeah, I-
reason.
even if there's not one, if we can't have one right at the end, that whole section of Bay from Harvey to East Terrace doesn't have much, so if we could go a little bit further down,
Was that the
Where-
bunting between the light poles?
yes.
Yeah, they're broken. We only had 400 metres and a lot of them kept breaking.
Oh, well, so, yeah, but anyway.
So if we're going to do it, we need to do it along the whole street. We need to share it along.
Yeah.
We've got a special meeting of council tomorrow at 9, because this, you know, obviously it's a committee, we can't make decisions. Well, you can't. You need to put recommendations to council. We put a budget there of, I think, $20,000. I think that will be enough to do the whole street or half the street.
It'll definitely be enough to do those like we do something on the palm trees a second. The main costs are if we actually put the stars onto the Stovey poles. I think they were about 1,500 per
Each. And
star.
how many Stovey poles have we got for the whole street?
16.
Can I just ask, the decorations that we've had in other years, like the bells and is there a Santa and are they still usable?
Yep.
Could we put those in between, so you have the new one and one of the older ones, new one, older one?
Yeah,
To share them out, or do you want to go all new and make it?
It just depends on the impact you're trying to have.
Yeah, and I get that new.
You could
with
try, unless we did the old ones down the other end of the street for this half, and then as each year continues, try and
build it up.
to it.
Why don't I put a couple of options to council? All new, half, and because obviously it's going to impact on cost. 24,000 for all new along those stars along the street. That's what it's going to cost. But it's a lot of money. But then you look at it over, say they last for 7 years. It's something that we can reuse, and it makes the street look quite amazing. And when we're doing Main Street planning at the moment, we're trying to get a new entry statement that can be interchangeable for events and celebrations, including Christmas. So we could have something that looks quite amazing, welcoming and funneling people through to our foreshore. I'd love to do something on the foreshore too with public art, like Christmas lights and stuff like that in the trees, like Christmas crabs in the trees and birds and stuff like that.
I have thought of having on top of the pub facing that way and the top of the bakery facing that way just the lasers, and they can be on trees.
I reckon we're going to have problems with lasers.
Okay.
Just with the boats, that was the suggestion, and any
and
light
residents.
going out onto the
The
boats.
shop owners. But that's something that we can look at, definitely, like investigate holograms and stuff like that going forward. So is this committee happy for us to actually recommend a few options to council? First one, just, you know, spending $20,000 and what that consists of, utilising some of the partnering with Progress Association. And then, you know, an option to do the whole lot.
Well, our input into Christmas decorations in the past has been minimal. So it's time to.
I think so.
Does council put them up? I thought Steve.
We put them up.
First week.
And
Yeah,
we do
both.
have a budget that all the progress associations ask for to buy some, so we do have some budget
It's not
for it.
huge though.
No, it's not, it's like $5,000 or
Yeah.
something.
But I'd love to see us really, you know, brighten up our street, especially because it's been such a tough year for the community.
Can I just throw a little bit of food for thought?
Yeah.
And saying the Progress Association is having a few issues. Why not bring Fisherman Bay Progress on board and let them work together?
I think it was their constitutions are against each other. As in, if you're in the Progress Associations, you have to be living in that town or have land in that town. I think it was
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to what I'm saying is, you're not using the same constitution, but you've got two bodies working for one thing, to make our area good.
I think council through this committee can actually bring in the progress associations to work together.
Yeah.
And one thing that I will be doing after this is ringing Judy, saying this is what we're thinking about here, and looking at what we can do there. Not this year, perhaps next year.
Yeah, I think in the long run of our area, the same with Mundura, whatever, I think if we all cohere together, we're going to make it a hell of a lot better. That we all work as one and we all got on the same page. You know what I mean? You know?
I agree. Yeah.
We've got some great things happening. Let's all do it.
I think also getting volunteers is a major.
Volunteers is the biggest actual thing. I mean, we find even the RSL, we're finding it. We've got the same people there all the time. Progress Association at Fishy Bay, it's the same people.
You're not alone with the role I'm working on the 15 councils. Yeah, even Barossa, who's got how many times the number of residents that we do has to.
It's a real big ache in the backside. Even years ago, you could see the dropping off of people were community-based things or even club-based things, where it was the same people doing the same jobs.
We don't have the service clubs like we used to.
No.
Regrettably.
Okay, all right, so I've got a recommendation there. In light of the implications of COVID-19 to plan Christmas festivities, Council of the Port Broughton Progress Association, I might change this up, partners together in street and foreshore lighting for Port Broughton. And then I reckon the second one is the committee recommends to council recommends to staff to put together some options for council regarding how many lights and the costs associated with those lights.
Typing right here. I'll fix it there. That committee recommends staff to put together
so where you've got moved that the committee recommends, I put to council in front of that first bullet point. So up the top. Sorry. Yeah. So the committee recommends to council and then take to council out of the. Right. Yeah. And then, now go down to the second bullet point and take out the committee and start it with staff. Staff put together. Oh, you've got it there. So get rid of, for council. For their consideration. And the second dot point, get rid of the in the second, so return after that, yeah. Now we are doing a Christmas, Christmas light competition and we'll put the retail component in there. That's great idea, George. well done. And I haven't had an opportunity to talk about the treasure hunt yet with the likes of Laurie and Bridget and stuff, but I've got an idea around a treasure hunt that people could do on their own, and it's about, you know, finding different things, different monuments in Port Broughton. So we'll try to put that together over the quiet time and try to launch something, you know, after the new year, to get people in the community and kids in particular to go and discover the monument and the trees that were planted along, I forget what street it's called, like the highway there, the Kadina Road. Yeah, and to look at, you know, different unique things in our area, like the, you know, some of the podium signages out on Snook Road. And
There's 3 schools out looking Mundura way as well. There's signs there where there used to be schools as well.
yeah. So those sorts of things. So I'm hoping this committee would support that recommendation for staff to do that. And obviously outside of this, we can email out to you to ask you what you think and get your feedback. And you can have involvement in that process just by, you know, giving us a call, giving us your feedback via email. So there's 3 recommendations there.
I've just added
Wow.
that dot point there for the Main Street, because you just.
And foreshore. And put up on the top bullet point then in the main street and foreshore light. No, partner together in Main Street and foreshore lighting, because we're not talking about doing any other streets, are we, Bridget? No.
It's enough for the Main Street.
So, can I have somebody to move those recommendations, Councillor Lockyer? 1 second, David. Oh, Ben. Is that you, Ben?
Yep, yeah.
All in favour? Fantastic. All right. It's been a long meeting, guys. I'm sorry. We've got no items for information only. Have we got any questions with notice? No. Questions without notice. It's an opportunity for you guys to ask anything of us. I'm hoping in light of the time we can do that outside of session. If you've got a question, give us a call. And the rest is, there's nothing. So I'm going to close this meeting, if I can, at 12:35. And in closing, I'd like to thank you for coming and participating. I'm looking at you, David and Shirley, because we've had a couple of emails together. I hope in particular you found this interesting.
I've done.
And it's our first one, so it's a bit clunky, but we'll get better. We'll get more organised and
Very good.
and there'll be more of it. There's 3 other members that have nominated to be involved, so we'll be recommending them to council as well to get involved. Yes, close it. Yeah, thank you.